Inna alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulallah. Today we're going to speak about the merits or virtues of some of the wives of the Prophet and also some of the female companions as well. The Prophet had female companions as well as male companions. There were women who were with the Prophet. In fact, for those of you who don't know, the first person to embrace Islam was his wife Khadijah. When the Prophet Muhammad announced his prophethood, when he received the message from Allah that he was a prophet, his wife Khadijah was the first person to convert to Islam and to accept him as a prophet. So there were female companions as well. And many of you know the story of Khadijah, the first wife of the Prophet, whom he loved more than anyone. Well, we're going to speak about some of the other wives of the Prophet and also some more female companions. And we're going to start off again addressing Khadijah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the best of all women of her time was Mary, the mother of Jesus, who was the daughter of Imran. And the best of the women of her time was Khadijah, my wife. Okay, so Khadijah is one of the best women that Allah ever created, just like Mary. Mary was the best woman that Allah ever created, so was Khadijah. In fact, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there are many people amongst men who are perfect, but there are none who are more perfect amongst the women except for Mary, who was the mother of Jesus, Asiya, who was the wife of Pharaoh, and the excellence of Aisha is like tharid, which is a food that the Arabs like. Aisha is not one of the top perfected women. The top perfect women are Mary, Asiya, Khadijah, and the Prophet's daughter Fatima. Those are the four best women ever created. A lot of people would think that Aisha was in that group, but she's not. Okay, so it's Mary, Asiya. And why is Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh, such a great woman? Because her faith in Allah was so strong. Her husband Pharaoh punished her, kept her as imprisoned. He used to torture her, abuse her, beat her up because she refused to accept him as a God. She said there's only one God, and that God is Allah. And even though he tortured her, even though he beat her, even though he persecuted her, forced her to stay with him, she never lost her faith in Allah. In fact, the last breath she took was, "Oh Allah, take me to a better place than this." Okay? So the best woman ever created was Mary, after her, Asiya, after her, Khadijah, and then the Prophet and Khadijah's daughter, Fatima. Those were the four best perfect women ever created. And to show more about Khadijah, once the angel Jibril came to the Prophet Muhammad one day, and he said, "O Prophet of Allah, your wife Khadijah is getting ready to bring you some food to eat. When she comes, give her my greetings and also greetings from Allah, and tell her that Allah has said she will be in paradise where there is no noise and there is no worry and stress." So Khadijah, the wife of the Prophet, his first wife, was given the great news of paradise before she died. She will have a palace in paradise where there is no worry, because she was always worrying and helping the Prophet in his mission. She never was able to rest and take peace. So Allah sent Jibril to tell the Prophet to let her know that she will be amongst the people of paradise. And even Aisha, a lot of people think that Aisha was the favorite wife of the Prophet. She really wasn't. The Prophet's favorite wife was Khadijah. Even after her death, the Prophet used to talk about her a lot. Even after her death, in Islam, if you love a person, A lot of people say, what do you do for a person when they die? Well, one of the ways of showing your love for a person who dies is to be good, to look after and be good to their family and the people that they loved. Aisha tells us that she was never jealous, more jealous of any woman as she was Khadijah. Even though Khadijah died 3 years before the Prophet even married Aisha. She said even though she was dead, the Prophet used to always praise her. And also the fact that Allah promised her a home in paradise, a palace made of jewels, that made her so jealous. She said, and whenever the Prophet would sacrifice a sheep or kill any animal for food, he would always give part of it to Khadijah's family and her friends. And when Aisha one day asked him that, why do you always send money and food to Khadijah's sister and her friends? He said, this is one of the ways that you show your love for a person who after they die, by being kind and good to their family and their people whom they loved. And also Aisha was jealous of the fact that when the Prophet was married to Khadijah, he didn't marry any other woman. He only stayed with her. He did not take on other wives until after her death. In fact, just to show how Aisha was a woman just like you and me, she says one day the sister of Khadijah came to see the Prophet, and when she came and asked for him, that her voice reminded the Prophet of Khadijah's voice, and he became overwhelmed, and he made dua for this woman, and he was so excited to see this woman. Aisha said she became so jealous that she said, why is it that you remember somebody can remind you of an old woman who had no teeth and who's been dead for years, instead of you thinking about me and I'm living and I'm right here? The Prophet became so angry with Aisha, he began to cry. He said, don't you know, Aisha, when I went through my darkest moment, when I first received the revelation that I was a prophet, I didn't believe it. I didn't know what was going on with me. It was Khadijah who calmed me down. It was Khadijah who took me to someone who could tell me that I was a prophet. He said Khadijah was a rich woman, but she sacrificed all her money to help me in my mission. He said, how could I not love her? How could I not remember her? And Aisha said she felt so bad that she never talked badly about Khadijah again. So those are some of the virtues of Khadijah. She's one of the 4 best women that Allah ever created, and she will be amongst the people in paradise. And even though Khadijah was the Prophet's favorite, and she was such a great woman, that does not take away from Aisha. In fact, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Aisha that before he married her, in fact, it was after Khadijah had died, he had a dream, and in this dream, Jibril had told him that he would marry Aisha. So Aisha felt good about that. And also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Aisha one day that the angel Jibril had come to visit with him. The angel Jibril told the Prophet, give your wife Aisha my greetings of peace. And Aisha felt so happy that Jibril acknowledged her. Okay? And again, about the dream, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Aisha, I saw you in a dream. I had a dream about you for 3 nights. And in that dream, an angel had brought you to me in a silk garment and told me, this is your wife. And when I opened the garment, I saw your face. And I said, oh my God, this is from Allah. So he let her know that after Khadijah had died, he had received these three dreams about her, knowing that he would end up marrying her one day. Also, the Prophet told Aisha once, I can always tell whenever you are angry at me. He said, because whenever you are not angry, you say things like, by the Lord of Muhammad. But whenever you are angry at me, you say, by the Lord of Abraham. Okay, so that shows how Aisha was. She was a normal person like you and me, a woman that went through jealousies like any other woman was jealous, and she also believed in Allah. She loved her husband. She loved the Prophet, but she did not love the Prophet more than she did Allah. And this is something that women today cannot discern from. You have too many women today that are in love with their husbands. They love their husbands more than they do Allah, and this is wrong. Also, Aisha tells us that when he married her, she was a little girl, and she used to play with dolls in his presence, and her little friends would come to play with her, and they would become shy, and they would want to leave, but the Prophet would leave the room and let them stay and play with their their dolls with her. So that shows her relationship with the Prophet was such a beautiful, healthy one. But again, Aisha was a woman just like you and me. She went through jealousy just like you and me. And I tell you guys all the time, you look at these crazy groups on Facebook, polygamy groups, which are, they need to just totally tear those groups down. It's just stupid. You know, in Islam, a man can have more than one wife, but there's rules and guidelines that must be adhered to. The wives live separately in separate homes. We don't interfere in the other wife's business. We are not sister wives. We are co-wives. In Islam, you do not refer to your co-wife as a sister wife, because a man does not marry you. You do not marry his other wives. In Islam, we don't have relationships with the other wives, except to do our duties. As far as if I see you, I'm going to greet you and all of that. But in Islam, nowhere does Allah say that a woman has to be friends with her co-wives. All you have to do is treat each other civilly when you see each other. So there is no sister wives. We're not friends in Islam. We're just sisters in Islam, and I see you at the mosque, I give you salams and all that. But other than that, there's no relationship. There's no relationship between the other wives. And so there's a lot of jealousy that emerges. Even with the Prophet's wives, they had jealousy amongst each other. Even though there's not no relationship between each other, some relationships do form. Aisha, for example, she formed a very close relationship to Hafsa. Hafsa was the daughter of Umar. Okay? She was Umar's daughter. Aisha and Hafsa became very good friends. They used to plot and plan to do a lot of crazy things to the other wives. And this is an example. Whenever the Prophet ﷺ would go on a journey, he used to cast lots amongst his wives and whichever, and to choose who would go with him. One day he decided to take one day he decided to take both Aisha and Hafsa. So they both went with him on a journey, and the Prophet used to travel on camel at nighttime with Aisha and talk to her. But Aisha was jealous. She was just curious. She wanted to know, what does the Prophet talk about with Hafsa? And Hafsa wanted to know, well, what does he talk about with you? They were both his wives. So Aisha said, okay, let's do something. She said he usually likes to, at the nighttime, he'll travel with me, next to me. She said, why don't we switch? Why don't you take my camel and let him think that you are me? and you and he can go off and walk into the night together, and that way you can see what he says about me, and then I'll switch with you in the daytime and I can see what he says to you. This was a trick that they called themselves going to pull to see what the prophet's relationship with each other was. However, Aisha felt bad when she switched her camel with Hafsa, and Hafsa got on her camel and they walked away. Her and the prophet walked away at nighttime to talk. Aisha became jealous, wished that she hadn't have done it. And then when they came back, when Hafsa came back, Hafsa said, "Guess what, Aisha? The prophet didn't talk about anything. We just walked together that night, and that was it on the camel. That was it. He didn't speak at all." So see, that shows Allah, is always in the best of planners. Aisha and Hafsa thought they could plot and plan to see how the prophet reacts with his different wives. The prophet didn't speak about nothing. He just rode in silence. And Aisha ended up making herself jealous over nothing. Okay, so I put that hadith there to show that the prophet wives, they were women like you and me. They went through jealousies. They did silly things. They didn't get along. They used to fight and argue all the time. But Aisha and Hafsa remained good friends. But they used to do all kind of crazy tricks against the other wives and all of that. Okay, so these are some of the virtues of Aisha. And again, of the 4 best women ever created, Mary, Asiya, Khadijah, Fatima, who was a daughter of the prophet, and Khadijah, she was the 4th best woman ever created. And just to tell you a little bit about her, when the prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was dying, Fatima came to visit with him. He died in Aisha's apartment. He was in Aisha's apartment. Fatima came to visit him and just to speak with him for a last time before he died. And Aisha says the prophet whispered something in her ear and she started crying. And then he whispered something else in Fatima's ear and she laughed. And Aisha asked her, "What did the prophet say to you?" And she said, "Why would I tell you?" By the way, Fatima and Aisha did not get along either. They didn't like each other either. Aisha was jealous of Fatima, and Fatima thought Aisha was too arrogant and too conceited. So Fatima said, "Why would I tell you what he told me?" So years later, after the prophet had died, Fatima came to Aisha and said, "Remember when my father was dying and he whispered something in my ear and I cried?" She said, "What he whispered in my ear was that I was going to die. He was letting me know that he was getting ready to die. And that's why I cried. And then when I was crying, he whispered to me that I would be the first amongst his family to join him. And that's why I laughed." And true enough, guys, Fatima, the daughter of the prophet, she died 6 months after the prophet Muhammad had died. So she was the first of his family to join him. Okay? So, and everybody knows she was his favorite daughter. Everybody knows she was the one that was married to Ali. And also, we have the story of how once Abu Jahal, he sent a proposal of marriage to Ali, offering Ali to marry his daughter. Ali at the time was married to Fatima. And when Fatima heard that Abu Jahal wanted his daughter to marry her husband, Fatima became jealous and she became sick. She began to cry, and the prophet was wondering, she stayed in her home crying. So the prophet one day asked, "Where's my daughter?" And he went to visit her and she was crying, and he said, "Why are you so upset?" She said, "I love Ali so much." She said, "But Ali is thinking about marrying Abu Jahal's daughter." She said, and she's such a beautiful woman, and how can I compete with a woman like that? And I don't want to experience any polygamy with him, and I don't want to share him with anyone. And that's when the prophet told her to calm down. And then the prophet went to Ali, and he said, Ali, do you love me? And Ali said, yes. He said, do you love who I love? And Ali said, yes. The prophet said, well, I love the most in this world Fatima, my daughter. He said, and whatever hurts her hurts me. He said, it's not a good thing. It is not a good thing for the daughter of the prophet to be a co-wife to the daughter of the enemy of Allah, because Abu Jahl was the one who Allah hated the most. He was one of the Quraysh who was the most evil. He said it's not befitting for the daughter of a prophet to be a co-wife to the daughter of the enemy of Allah. He said, and whatever hurts Fatima hurts me. So Ali turned the proposal down. He refused to marry Abu Jahl's daughter. In fact, he refused to marry anyone as long as Fatima lived, because he remembered that if Fatima was sad, the Prophet Muhammad would be sad. So rather than make the Prophet sad, he never married any other wife until after Fatima died. When Fatima died, he married a lot of women then, but he did not marry anyone during any other woman alongside her until she died. Okay, so polygamy is lawful, guys. It's lawful. But if a woman feels that she can't handle it, the woman can seek a divorce. If you feel for some reason that your husband cannot be just to you, or even if the thought of sharing your husband with another woman upsets you, you can seek a divorce. A woman can seek a divorce. In this case, Fatima didn't seek a divorce, but she didn't have to, because the Prophet went to Ali and told him, if you choose to marry her, that's fine, but understand, the daughter of the Prophet and the daughter of the enemy of Allah, that's not a good combination. And whatever makes my daughter upset makes me upset too, and makes me unhappy too. He said, I am not going to tell you that it is forbidden for you to marry that woman. I am not going to tell you that something that Allah made lawful is haram. Polygamy is lawful and it's good and clean. He said, I got other wives. He said, but I'm letting you know that the daughter of a prophet and the daughter of an enemy don't go together well. And what hurts my daughter hurts me. And so Ali didn't marry another woman until after she had died. Okay? And then the next set of hadiths, they speak about the virtues or the merits of Salama. Salama, who was another one of the wives of the Prophet. She was the one who Aisha was very, very jealous of, because Salama was very intelligent. The Prophet would go to her and consult with her in regards to warfare. He would go to her and talk strategy. She was a good strategist. Whenever the Prophet was upset about or trying to figure out how to deal with his enemies, he would go to Salama. She'd comfort him and give him advice and good strategy. Also remember, she was the one who, when her husband died, Abu Salama was one of the first Muslims to migrate. He was one of the best with the Prophet, and he was died as a result of a wound he received on the Battle of Badr. When he died, Salama felt, how could I ever receive anyone better than he? And Allah sent the Prophet Muhammad, who proposed to her. He said, Allah has sent you something better, and that is me. Okay? And also we have this hadith here that once the angel Jibril came to the Prophet when the Prophet was with his wife Salama, and they began to talk. And then the angel stood up And then the prophet said to Salama, do you know who that man was that just left this house? She said, yeah, that was a man named Deha. The prophet said, no, that was the angel Jibril, who had come to visit me but disguised himself as someone else. Salama was the only wife of the prophet to witness Jibril disguised as a person. Because remember, the angels, no one can see an angel in their original form except a prophet. But the angels can take on the appearance of other people, of a beautiful human being, and we not know that they're an angel. Well, she was the only wife that the angel Jabril disguised himself as a human and came to visit the prophet as. And she was able to see him as another human being. Jabril didn't take on disguise whenever he visited the prophet with the other wives. He would just be his invisible self and tell the prophet to give salams to his other wives. So that's one of her virtues. She's the only wife that the angel Jabril took on the appearance of a man and came to visit the prophet as, and she was allowed to see that. Okay? And also the virtues of another wife, Zainab. Zainab was the one who was originally married to Zayd, and then they were divorced, and Allah himself married Zainab to the Prophet Muhammad to show that adopted children are not your children, and you can marry their wives, and etc. Okay? Well, Zainab was one of the most beautiful of all the Prophet's wives. She was the one that Aisha was jealous of and hated the most because she was beautiful, and also her and the Prophet Muhammad shared a lot in common. They like to eat and drink honey together. She was very jealous of Zainab. Well, right after, before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died, that the wives were standing around him as he was on his deathbed. He was in the arms of Aisha. And they asked him, which of us would be the first? Which of us would be the first to join you in paradise as your wife? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who has the longest hands, he will be the one, she will be the one to die and join me first. So after the Prophet had died, the wives used to gather together and measure their hands to see who had the longest hand. And I think they said Sauda had the longest hand, and they thought that she was going to be the one to join the Prophet first. But when Zainab died first, that's when they understood what he meant. It wasn't the hand. Zainab was a charitable person. She used to always give in charity. So when he said that the one who has the longest hands will join me first, he meant the one who gives in charity the most amongst you will join me. And that was Zainab. So Zainab was the first wife to die after the Prophet. And she was the first to be with him in paradise after his death. Okay? And also there's another woman who was not a wife of the Prophet, but again, there were many female companions. One of them was Aiman. Aiman. One of the companions tells us that the Prophet went to Aiman, and this person, the companion, was with him, and she used to serve the Prophet a drink of sweet nectar. And so she served him this drink and said that the Prophet refused it, and it was because he was fasting. And when he refused to drink the nectar, Aiman got mad and raised her voice at him and yelled at him. And the Prophet just didn't say anything. That shows his respect for Aiman. The Prophet loved Aiman, and he respected her so much. In fact, after the death of the Prophet, Abu Bakr and Umar decided to go visit Aiman because the Prophet used to visit her every Friday. So when they went to visit her, she was crying. And so Abu Bakr and Umar asked her, "Why are you crying?" They said, "Don't worry, the Prophet is fine. He's in paradise. So don't cry. I mean, he's in a better place." She looked at Abu Bakr and she looked at Umar. She said, "You two sillies, I am not crying because the Prophet is dead. I know he's in a better place." She said, "The reason why I am crying is because since he's gone, there will be no more revelations from Allah. Allah will not send us any more revelations." Abu Bakr looked at Umar. Umar looked at Abu Bakr, and they both sat down and began to cry too with her, because nobody thought of that. The Prophet was gone, and that meant that they will no longer hear any more words from Allah. They will no longer hear of any more words from Allah. So that shows the faith of Aiman. She truly loved Allah. She loved the Prophet too. But like Aisha and the other wives of the Prophet, their love was in perspective. They didn't love the Prophet Muhammad more than they did Allah. Remember, guys, you'll never be a believer until you love Allah more than anyone. And then you love the Prophet Muhammad. And then you love yourself. So that shows the faith of Aiman. Okay? And then finally, another female companion is Sulaim. Sulaim was one of the few women like Aiman that the Prophet would visit, who was not his wife. But they say that Sulaim and the Prophet were related down the line through fosterage or something. But anyway, the Prophet used to visit Sulaim and Aiman on a regular basis. And Sulaim's house is the only house that the Prophet would go and take a nap at. And she had a sister. Her and her sister would be there. The Prophet would sometimes leave the mosque and stop by and take a nap on their couch, or take a nap on their couch. Sulaim and her sister. And also, the Prophet one day told the companions that when he went on his night journey, and he was walking through paradise, he could hear the noise of footsteps who were walking. And he said, "Whose footsteps are those?" And the angels told him, "Those footsteps that you hear are the footsteps of Sulaim." And by the way, for those of you who don't know, Sulaim was the mother of Anas, the companion whose hadiths we hear so much about. Sulaim, she was his mother. She was the one that when she converted to Islam, she didn't have a husband because her husband had been killed in a battle. She said, "O Prophet of Allah, I give you my son Anas. He's only 6 years old. But can he accompany you so he can learn from you? He can learn manners from you and good behavior from you, and learn what true manhood is." So he became the water boy for the Prophet. The Prophet made him his little water boy. He used to get the water for him to make wudu with. Anas was treated like one of the Prophet's families. He used to always stay with the Prophet. He learned manners from the Prophet, the hadiths and everything else from him. How many women today are like Sulaim? Your husband dies. You have sons to raise. How many women today will take their sons to the mosque and tell the imam, "Hey imam, can my son spend time with you so he can learn about the deen? He can learn to call the adhan. He can learn the proper way to pray. He can help you." That's what you women need to do. You women who are single, who have no husbands, and you have young boys who need to be raised as men. How many of you entrust your sons to the imam of your masjid and say, "Let my son help you. Let him come up here on the weekends and help you clean the mosque and help learn from you how to read the Quran and call the adhan and stuff." That's what Sulaim did. She entrusted her son Anas to the care of the Prophet. And the Prophet would always go to her house, like every Friday. He'd visit Aiman. He'd also stop by and see Sulaim, and he would always fall asleep on her couch. And also we have another hadith whereas the prophet said that when he was shown paradise, he saw Abu Talha's wife Sulaim reclining on a couch, and he also heard the footsteps of Bilal. And by the way, Sulaim was also married to Abu Talha. Okay. So these are some of the hadiths about some of the female companions. Again, in order to be a true Muslim, a true believing Muslim, you have to love Allah, love His Prophet, and love all the companions. You cannot speak badly about any of the Prophet's companions, because to do that means that you didn't have any love for them. And also the companions included women. There were many females companions right alongside the men. They used to fight on the battlefield with the men. They used to help in the dawah and everything else. We have to love these women and respect these women. On that note, we'll stop right here for today. Tomorrow we'll continue. I'll give you a quiz to cover the hadiths that we talked about today, and then we'll move on to the next companions that are mentioned in this collection of Muslim. So we'll stop right here. If you have any questions, you can type them. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha